Hi, welcome to my video. So those of you that saw the teaser, some information is going to be repeated, and we're going to move in steps from the main deal of mind control via frequencies, the development with additional theory. We're going to go from the main deal to some explanations, to some photos. We'll show you the patent for mind control and voice to skull at Google Patents, as long as it's still there when I get to my PC. So, welcome. This is targeted individual presentation for you. It's a lot of work went into this. This is a secret to why the world is not like it's supposed to be, because behavioral science rules the day when it comes to controlling people with frequencies. All right. Michael Faraday in 1831 invented the Faraday cage, which is the main defense for electromagnetic weapons. Electromagnetic frequencies. They use them in bunkers for secrecy to try to keep the Russians from listening, or the Chinese, or whoever it is, everybody. You know, the spy game. You know, nowadays they talk about your router can see through your wall and this and that. Well, of course it can. You know, they're frequencies. It creates like a mini radar. All right. So that's how mind control is done, through radar. Here are the patent numbers right off the bat. Mind Control by Robert Malik. Voice to skull, I forget this guy's name, is disguised as a patent for a hearing aid. All right, so Hertz, after the Civil War, which I think that Faraday's work, I mean, it could have come from the Egyptians, who knows, but his work was to test the equipment, because why would he invent the defense for EMF if there wasn't an offense? Okay, so supposedly he found discovered electromagnetic waves in like 1860, 1880, Heinrich Hertz. But I think they were already there, and that's why the Civil War was brother against brother. They had their political issues, but that's what people that control people use to initiate things at the governmental and military level that affect you in your daily lives, you know. All right, pretty much everybody knows about Tesla, and that is the real deal. Tesla Wardcliffe Tower. What people don't know is Guglielmo Marconi had wireless telegraphy stations, which that's what this is, radio, wireless telegraphy. All right, Marconi had stations in Tuckerton, New Jersey, New Brunswick, New Jersey, Louisiana, I think Florida, all up and down the coast in Africa and Europe. And the Nazis used these things. They shut the one down in Tuckerton because they said a German was sending messages. I mean, of course they were. It was going all over the world. That's what the whole thing was about. Tesla describes in his book, I mentioned in another video, that he could send secret messages to secret agents. Or mind control is the Tesla magnifying telescope with individualization. That's one of the functions. It does radar, like Tesla's death ray. It does a lot of different things. Wireless transmission of power. That's what wireless telegraphy stations are. Matter of fact, speaking of which, he did his experiments before Wardenclyffe in Colorado, and the U.S. Army came in there and seized his test site when he invented wireless transmission, charged a battery from a mile away, and sent a spark around the world. All right, so now we got this little radio mind control machine. Well, all comes this genius, Einstein. He's the one that figured out how to use shortwave, all right, and voice to skull. His partner, Rudolf Goldschmidt, invented this, what's called the heterodyning machine. And this was described in the patent for voice to skull. But this enables, before you could just maybe like remote control when they first learned it, you could move their arms or legs, maybe some emotions, which is the worst. But this enables you to talk or influence emotions or whatever for sure by heterodyning. And I'll explain that more later. That's mixing your body signal with a frequency that combines to make a third frequency, which is the one that the communication is done upon. Now, if you think I'm bullshitting, Einstein was an electrical engineer, physicist as a sideline. This is him at Marconi's plant. All right, and I checked his wedding. They're removing the stuff from that. He went to visit Marconi installations when he was in Italy. He went to visit him whenever he was around. He settled down in Princeton within a half hour of Tuckerton, New Jersey, or an hour and a half. It was a half hour, an hour and a half, and there's 3 towers around there. All right, so that's what he was doing. He was electromagnetism. He also founded a Hebrew University in Tel Aviv and New York and they both teach electromagnetism. Now, J. Edgar Hoover thought he was a spy. I think he was too. I think he held back from the development of this weapon and gave it to Israel and its really big brother. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is where Einstein was in 1924. This is Potsdam, Germany. 2 towers. Now, his you can work in, okay? Not like most telegraphy towers. I have some other pictures. There's one. All right, it's just a tower like we see all the time with people with cell antennas on them. Well, he was in Potsdam, and this is totally another theory for another time, but it's all part of mind control. All right, here's Berlin. This was put in 24. These were here in the 1910 and 1920s. All right, his was 24 also. So these 2 towers were installed at the same time, and I contend that Einstein and his partner, Einstein's patent is for a hearing aid also, this, but it's the first one from Einstein. And what he was doing was sitting here. I think that they started World War II and agitated the Nazis with mind control. Now, you can think what you want. If you're a genius, I entertain your opinion. Because I have worked real hard on this, and it's freaking obvious. All right, they removed these 2 pictures from the internet the day after I found them on Wikipedia. All right, this is the 5th tower that was put in the center. These are older installations where they did electrical experiments. It's all on the internet for now. They were called testing stations. Yeah, they were testing mind control. Now, speaking of which, here's Telefunken under Goldschmidt. This is a German telecommunications company that made some of this stuff and set up the initial construction of some of these towers. This is Wurzburg radar, German radar, state of the art even today in 1941. Now, what kills me is that these are trailers that the Nazi had that they would take to the battlefield. Now, if this radar is covering and seeing all the planes, why do you need these little ones? I think I know why. Because that's what they were driving their troops with. It wasn't really Pemberton and Crank. They had mind control. All right. Now, pardon me while I grab my drink. Now, at the end of World War II, they had the guy that was in charge at the end was here, but they've changed the Wikipedia entry to say he was there to see MacArthur in 46 or something like that. Well, I saw a picture of him there in 45. He was there to observe the attacks on Japan. And I contend that there's a Tesla machine death ray underneath the hotel in Wake Island. It's an atoll, and international law doesn't apply there. I've got it defined on the board, just like McMurdo, Antarctica, and stations all over the world. That's what the big deal with the Chinese atoll that they've been fighting about out there by the Philippines for years, because they don't want them to do, because it's the same thing. They're putting in an installation like this. Now, going up, we got all this equipment from the Germans and developed it ourselves. The Armed Services Committee was formed in 1949. We had guys all over the world. We wanted to try to, maintain quiet control of it, obviously. They formed the National Security Agency in 1950. Then in 51, it was Roswell. That's just to blow smoke most of the time, people. They control the news. They know that the media is one of the best ways, like the radio in World War II. They had Tokyo Rose and Radio Free Europe. It's the best way to get information and to influence people and send messages too. And by the way, the U.S. Signal Corps was formed in 1911, right after they seized Colorado and right after they seized Wardenclyffe Tower. Okay? And right when they were working at Tuckerton, New Jersey. Okay? And there's an example of them. In this movie, most of us have seen The Blank of the State with Will Smith and Gene Hackman. Gene tells him on the roof, dude, these trackers are 2-3 levels above everybody else's. Nobody in the country has this stuff but the NSA. Now, God bless America, but he tells you right there, there's only one person that has access to this. So either they're playing us or somebody's playing them, which is often the case when you get to big power levels. Don't always assume that the last person you talk to is the one that really wanted the action to happen, This is ISCAT. This is a series of radars here. These are HARP radars, ionospheric radars. There's one on a platform. All right, this is just to draw it to your attention. That's NSA headquarters. All right, this is HARP in Alaska. All right, this is all the intelligence game, people. It's science, but it's all the intelligence game, and that's why they're there, because they are involved. Believe me, the regular public is told a bunch of baloney on the news. So these are ionospheric heaters as well. HARP in Alaska, Europe ISCAT, and we will move along. Israel has 23,455 radar sites. Did Einstein slip them something, and are they Big Brother? Like the Foundation, hiding in Isaac Asimov's books. You know what I mean? They use our military to do everything they want to do. So I've become skeptical because they are experts at electromagnetism. And I'm going to show you, there's 100 pages. If you Google one of the sites that comes up with Israeli radar on Google, is 100 pages of radar sites. 23,455. I don't think the place is as big as Rhode Island. But anyway, judge not, lest you be judged. But I'm looking for Big Brother, so it's a little bit different. All right, let's get to this. There's Michael Faraday, the Faraday cage, protection. Why was there protection before there was an offense? Because they erased that guy from history. That's why. I think they might have done the Civil War. More killed than World War I and World War II combined. Brother versus brother. They were going at it. Heinrich Hertz discovered EMF, Nikola. Colorado Springs, Warcliffe. He went to Germany, Russia, Germany, and New York. World War I and World War II were caused over Tesla machines in the frequency war. There it is, people, believe it or not. And World War III, too, might be going on silently around us, and we're distracted by all the environmental stuff, but really it's a power struggle between silent militaries and frequencies. Now, Albert Einstein had a patent for a hearing aid in 1929, towers in Berlin, photo of Marconi Station, Princeton. Rudolph Goldschmidt invented heterodyning, hugely important to be able to do voice to skull. Tucson, New Jersey was Marconi and another wireless company, but Marconi bought that one. Telefunken, German radio telegraphy, look it up, bunch of towers around Berlin and elsewhere. Potsdam, that's where Einstein was. Heterodyning, from the Morse code days. What heterodyning is, signal A meets, like your body, meets signal C, a signal coming in. All right, they meet and form another signal, signal B. The average of these two, if it's 100 and 110, signal B will be 105. And that is the shared communication frequency. ELF is long wave, 1 to 30 hertz. That's coincidentally what HARP is. All right. It also can be reset to run 30 to 300 hertz. And that antenna is miles long. There's one in Antarctica. If you want to look up Eric Hecker, no L, Hecker. Mind control frequency is done with a plurality of signals. RE, the Malik patent, and the hearing aid patent. I know it says it in here. I said Malik, it might be in there too. Plurality of microwave signals. That's where ELF is a long signal going across the whole country or the world, and they shoot up shortwave signals, microwave signals into it, and it carries the message. So targeted individual really means something. Wake Island, Japan. Now don't forget the radar radiation, either that was done to fool people that there were atomics, or maybe using the Tesla death ray, the frequencies do cause radiation burns because it is a frequency like radar. Okay, but you can turn it up. Tesla's machine, the higher the antenna goes, the more power you can get from the atmosphere or the earth too. So atolls and ice packs, international law does not apply. Einstein, this is very important about Einstein. He worked at the Swiss Patent Office between 1902 and 1909. And he said, quote, "My greatest inspirations come from the patent office." So this guy sat there and read all these patents and all that. It was really hot in the 1900s for electromagnetism and devices. He read all the patents coming into the Swiss patent office, and then he became the big guy. Big boom. Look, he's with all of them there, and he learned from him. If you ask him, "Are you the smartest guy in the world?" he'll tell you, "Talk to Nikola Tesla." It's a quote. But they might be lying because he snookered all of them, okay? Now, the Tesla machine heals, gives free power. It can magnetize and move any atom. Wireless transmission of frequencies and power. It's a crying shame we don't have a paradise here. Einstein was an electrical engineer, not a physicist. But when he read those patents, he was inspired. So I don't think Tesla was the only one that could imagine building something in his mind and then walk over there and put it together. He just sandbagged. That son of a bitch didn't tell anybody what he really knew. Okay? I was getting to hate it, and then I learned that secret. And while I do hate what he did with it, as an intellectual, I do say that it was very intelligent. And he didn't brag or nothing. He just played dumb. So talk about Harvey. So super heterodyne receiver Armstrong also helped greatly. It helped them use the FM band. They use all those bands because it's different parts of the body, different parts of the mind, and it's a plurality of signals. So they have AM, FM, UHF, VHF. I've got more of that in here. Moving along. Dead people underground, like in Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation. Yeah, they are. That's the deep state. All the way back to World War II at least, and before World War II. Maybe up to through World War I. I can't, it's hard to find out. But I'm convinced the Nazis were one of the best tunnelers ever. Well, we copied everything they did, so what does that tell you? The whole world does that stuff, the militaries. But the deep state is called the deep state. They're naming politicians. That's a bunch of bullshit. The deep state is underground soldiers that are on the dead list, typing into a keyboard and either sending frequencies out, or AI is doing it for them. They're selecting targets and AI is doing the rest of the work. That's why they call it echelon. Pamela Landy says, "Do you have an echelon package ready?" in Jason Bourne? That means the package that tells you whole life on one page and what to do about it. That's an echelon package. MK Ultra, mind control, same thing. A great example of a Tesla station where he talks about individualization and secret messages, and you can have as many stations as you want. All right. Well, if you look at Stryker in Wolverine Origins, he's typing in the keyboard for Ryan Reynolds' character, engage and stuff like that. That's what the goal of MK Ultra was, to have assassins that they could control. And of course, even if they did that, let's say, for example, anybody does that. Once you learn how to do that, then that control gets spread to all the other aspects of society. They just want more and more control. So it's a human weakness. So it's now done, I contend, by live streaming to the target. Now, the military is 20 years ahead of us. You figure it out. I can't prove that to you, but I'm telling you, they do it. All right, by AI. All right. If you want to check that out, a legal thing I told my mom about when she denied it is sleep therapy. They now can play a tape of someone else sleeping in your brain to help you sleep. They can tape any emotion you have, and not only that, but they can layer it. It's heavy. But emotions are really big in mind control, because a lot of people they control and never hear a voice in their head. It's emotions. Happy, angry, sad, depressed, like the big depression wave. Oh, what a bunch of crap. Why don't you send some concerts out there, give them some money, they'll be happy. But emotional manipulation is one of the easiest and most effective ways that your mind is controlled. Tired, cold, angry, fast, slow, lie, don't lie. And then if you do find out it's being done to you, then they'll hit you with, try to get you to like them for it. Oh, but we made you a better person, Stockholm Syndrome, Helsinki Syndrome. All right, here's some examples more of radar. The Russian Duga, I've got pictures here right there. Super Dawns all over the world. HAARP and other ionospheric radars all over the world. IceCat is like HAARP. That's the Norway version. It's got radars all over Scandinavia. All right, so let's look at this. This is the Duga in Russia, in Chernobyl, which is the real reason for the meltdown there. They were taking out the Russian mind control device. You know, think about it. This is an example of how complex the Chinese radar system is. I'm just gonna move through this quickly. Chinese Superdawn. This is how the frequencies can affect, you know, if they're sending that out, that's what's hitting you.